All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back for the first time in a long time to the Greatest Movie Podcast. My name, as always, is... Who am I? It's been so long. I forget. Who are you?
This is funny and very ironic because we are doing a movie review of Jackie Chan's Who Am I? Starring Jackie Chan.
As always, not true. We are, in fact, doing the movie review for the film Fargo by the Coen brothers. It's really a timeless story, car salesmen, like, they've been around since probably, dinosaurs? And
It's
so...
it's oldest profession.
Yeah. That prostitute job, that's like a new thing coming up, eh? I feel like that's a growing market.
It's on a Facebook type thing. It's all the millennials doing that stuff. I
Yeah.
don't know. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it involves.
All right, you want to get started with
I like if you
summary?
look up the Coen brothers on Wikipedia. They come up together.
Oh yeah. I mean, they might just be attached at the hip. Have they ever
Sounds like it.
have they ever made a movie not together?
That's so terrible.
I don't think they've ever made a movie not together.
This is funny. I'm sorry, because normally when you look up somebody, you only get one person. You don't get two people.
That's true. That is usually how Wikipedia pages work. Anyways,
he worked on American Dad. So
which one?
Recess. Ethan Coen.
Well, he's the successful brother then, because Recess was a good show.
Yes, I agree.
All right, so let's get started with the story of Fargo. Fargo is a 1996 American crime drama, and it really, the gist of the film, because there's a lot that goes on in this film, I don't want to get too much into it. So the gist of it is that Bill Macy wants to hire some criminals to kidnap his wife and then extort his wife's rich father for large amount of ransom money. Along the way, a lot of things don't work out exactly as planned because the two criminals, Steve Buscemi and this giant German guy, end up murdering some people on their way through Fargo, North Dakota, hence the name. And Marge Gunderson, the local sheriff, gets in charge of tracking them down. And so the film details Marge's attempts to solve the mystery, which she eventually does, and then everything kind of blows up at the end, and everyone shoots each other, and Marge goes home and has a nice talk about stamps with her husband in the bed. I think that's a pretty concise summary. But are there any specific moments you'd like to get into, Bosco?
I like the part where he's like wood chipping Steve Buscemi, right?
That was possibly my favorite part. When the legs are sticking out, I do very much enjoy that.
That scene just made the movie for me.
That's actually... Well, we should probably clarify for people who haven't seen it. So before that scene, the two partners have a kind of falling out, and Steve Buscemi was recently shot in an encounter with Jerry, Bill Macy's father. And so he comes back, and the big German guy murders him and decides to take basically his share of the ransom in the car. And then when he's putting him in the wood chipper, what happens before then, which is really interesting, is that the majority of the money is actually lost forever because the criminals never really prosper, because the big guy, he ends up getting arrested at the end. But before Steve Buscemi went back to the cabin to get murdered, I remember, hid the money out like in some really generic, like the road looks the same for 20 miles part of Minnesota. And so basically the criminals do not prosper in any way in this movie. The good guys definitely win. And there's very few good guys in this movie, I must say.
Didn't he use a bandana or a shovel or something? No, it was an ice scraper.
Yeah, it was an ice scraper. He stuck it in the ground, but come on.
Oh, so good.
Well, that's different. What about so? Were there any performances that stuck out for you in this movie, Bosco?
Just Steve Buscemi. Oh, you're not gonna talk to me? Okay, how you like the silent treatment?
And then he starts talking approximately 2 seconds later. Yeah, Steve Buscemi was very good in this movie. Steve Buscemi's, I think, always been an underrated actor. I mean, now I guess with Boardwalk Empire and everything, he's seen a lot of mainstream critical recognition, which I think he definitely deserves. But I don't know, he was always he does both comedy and drama very well. I'll say. And he also looks pretty damn creepy.
He always does that. He has a funny face though.
He is a he's a funny face. Did you see to sidetrack us just a little on topic of Steve Buscemi? Did you ever see that movie? It came out, I think like around March break. Because I remember seeing it on March break, I believe. The Burt Wonderstone movie.
Probably not.
Yeah, see, it was a movie that I went to see with my family, and based off the commercials, I thought would be awful. And it was still, like, not that great, but, like, a lot of it turned out to be really funny, mostly just because you could just look at Steve Buscemi and, like, all his little mannerisms and stuff in that movie, and, greatly improved that movie, I would say.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Well, to talk about other performances of the movie, why don't we list off the awards and nominations it received? So, it winning the award for Best Actress at the Academy Awards that year was Frances McDormand, who plays Marge, and she is married to one of the Coen brothers. You can't tell them apart, doesn't matter which one. She's probably married to both of them. It's probably a Mormon thing. And it also won the Academy Award for the original screenplay, which of course went to both the Coen brothers, and then there were also nominations that they did not win the awards for. Were still nominated. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography. Roger Deakins, who Roger Deakins is a very famous cinematographer who has never received a Oscar, as far as I know. I thought he really deserved it for Skyfall this year. He lost to some movie with just a green screen, but and then finally the last nomination, Bill Macy was nominated for supporting actor for being Bill Macy, basically.
No question, because you brought green screen up. How is that part of cinematography?
You're asking me, but I
Yeah.
get the sarcastic answer. I don't believe that Life of Pi deserved the award for cinematography.
Life of Pi, isn't that with the lion?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of cool, but it was really
I
in a
believe
room.
that it absolutely deserved awards for special effects and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, they were the guys who didn't pay their special effects. So I was just cut them off the jaw, seeing that was gutless. But yeah, there was cinematography. It existed in that movie. It was nothing compared to Skyfall.
Like, no shit. I mean, I don't like talking about Avatar, but at least they talked about how they use cinematography with their live action rendering cameras where they can see things. I mean, that was kind of interesting, like
Yeah,
technology aspect.
because James Cameron is he's a very focused director, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
he knows how to do a lot of different things. And then he chooses to make simpler movies, let's say. But
Yeah.
that's not to say that as a director he doesn't know how to make those very well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like him, but whatever. But I mean, that's the only instance I would say it's like green screen could have any cinematography in it. I mean, I guess even Inception had a lot of cinematography in it.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned Skyfall, and Skyfall does have like green screen, like a little bit special effects and stuff, but just the way the whole movie is shot is like really well done. Whereas Life of Pi, it always just felt like we were sitting in a room with a kid and a tiger.
You were, because that's the entire. If I don't remember, I've never seen it. I've only seen like bits and pieces of it, but they don't advertise anything more than a kid on a boat with a lion. So I assume that was all the cinematography, and it was just a niche film.
Yeah, it was. The special effects were well done on that movie. Cinematography, not so much. What about the cinematography in the movie
Fargo.
Fargo? Was there anything that really stuck out to you in this one?
I mean, this is a problem. If this was like when I saw it fresh in my mind, I would tell you, but I can't remember anything specifically. But I mean, there's a lot of interesting things. Like there's some cool things where like I think if I remember correctly, they were talking in a restaurant and there's some cool things going on in the background. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, it was really immersive in a way, but it was like immersive in the way that's Minnesota, because it's so like, Minnesota's shit.
Yeah, I think the one thing I can remember is like a lot of the times there's very static camera in the movie. So like for instance, do you remember when Marge exits her house, she kind of goes from eating breakfast out the door into her car? A lot of movies would do like 3 shots for that, right? Where she gets up, they switch, she walks out the door, she's at her car, right? And Fargo, if I remember correctly, at least, she gets up and it's all just one continuous spot from the spot that shows kind of both halves of the room and her door. And then she,
It's one take.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that kind of made the movie feel a little realer, I guess. I mean, it's still obviously
Yeah.
the Coen brothers claim it's a real story, but it's a very fictionalized real story, if really. And so,
Cloverfield's based off a real story,
oh,
I think, or Blair Witch Project, one of those shitty movies.
Blair Witch Project. Is that the one where you never see the monster?
Not until the end, I think.
Uh,
I've never seen it, honestly. So
yeah, I'm not a big fan of horror movies.
I'm not a
I'm
big
a
fan
fan
of.
of bad horror movies.
Yeah, I'm not a real big fan of niche popular movies that are gonna be not popular in like a week after.
Like flavor of the month movies.
Yeah, I don't really care for those.
I could see what you mean on that. Is there anything else with cinematography?
I mean, it was just a really straightforward movie. I don't find anything special about it. It was just straightforward to the point. It wasn't bad.
Mhm.
It didn't feel like it was wasting your time, and it didn't feel like it was like really pumped on adrenaline. It just was right in and right out. These guys are assassins, they're killers, and they just kill people. No regard. They just do it reckless, whatever. They don't give a shit. They just do it. And that's it. There's no torturing. There's no talking. It's just to the point, and they do it.
Yeah.
Except for Steve Buscemi, but I mean that's him.
But saying that actually, because you talked about how like at least the big German guy, he didn't have very much emotions. That's reminded me of another thing I think they did well cinematography. They did a lot of shots where it was like kind of up in their face or at a certain angle, so you could kind of tell how people were feeling about scenes, like their characters. Like when Bill H. Macy's like freaking out under questioning in his dealership, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
chick's talking to him. Like the camera kind of gets all up in and around him, and you can like tell he's becoming uncomfortable. Where if it was just like him talking, that wouldn't be immediately obvious.
That reminds me of the part where he's talking to the female officer, and he just like the third time or second time or whatever, he just takes the keys and drives off, and you see his car go off in the back.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the last time he just yeah, he's like, oh yeah, sure, let me just go check around the lot real quick, and then she sees him driving away. Yeah, I think he ends up getting chased down and caught in a motel.
Yeah, actually, he did. Yes, I
Yes.
agree.
So do you think that how much of this do you think is a true story?
Well, I read the wiki. It just says it's the bits and pieces are based off stories that are true. Like I'm sure there is a guy that hired somebody to kill his wife or kidnap
Yeah.
for money.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was some guys that are kidnappers that killed policemen. I'm sure something did happen in Minnesota once. I'm sure it does snow in Minnesota. And I'm sure there is a car dealership guy that sells cars. I mean, that's all they did. They just, everything's a true story if it's, kinda.
Oh yeah. Yeah. uh, what about the Minnesota accents? Do you feel those were very true to life?
Not really. I've known some people from Minnesota. They don't really speak like that. But again, this is after the whole internet boom that I know these people, so they have a more robust accent, a more worldly accent.
They're not as isolated.
Exactly.
Do you enjoy the Minnesota accent in this movie though?
It was interesting, to say the least. But it didn't really get annoying. I'm glad it didn't get annoying because I know there people do like have this really, they have like this specific accent that it's not real, but I mean it's really annoying. I can't listen to it, and it's just it wasn't like that. It was very subtle, not subtle, but it was you knew what it was, but it wasn't like piercing.
Yeah, I think although the accent was oftentimes kind of used to bring a kind of brevity to some of the scenes, I don't think it ever hit like SNL or like sitcom levels of accent,
Right.
whereas like clearly just really over the top and bad. Is there anything that immediately comes to your mind about Fargo that we haven't talked about yet, Bosco?
Not really, honestly. It's a straightforward movie. That's not a bad thing. I want to make sure people understand that. It's not a bad thing. That's actually what I prefer. I hate things that just go off in tangents, like
Yeah.
me.
Yes, I understand what you mean. I think.
Like Citizen Kane is very straightforward. It's a very straightforward movie, but it's just the way it's ordered may not seem like it's straightforward, but it's understandable, and it's.
We're not allowed to talk about Citizen Kane.
Oh
That
fuck!
will be the final podcast.
That was the rule. That was the rule we made too. Shit.
We're not allowed to compare anything to Citizen Kane. Okay, here's something. So, Bosco, how do you think if Steve Buscemi had not forgotten to take the dealer plates off of his car, how do you think the events of the movie would have turned out?
it would have just gone off without a hitch.
Because I think, personally, I think that the tension between Steve Buscemi and his partner, and also Jerry and his wife's father, would have resulted in things not working out perfectly regardless.
Didn't his father die? Ah, that's funny.
His father did die.
My
Steve
father-in-law.
Buscemi shot him. Yeah.
Not, it wasn't Steve Buscemi. It was, oh yeah,
No,
Steve
it
Buscemi. I'm
was
sorry.
Buscemi.
I get the two actors confused. It's Minnesota guy and Steve Buscemi sometimes.
Bill Macy? Yeah,
Yes.
don't you remember the great scene where Steve Buscemi, after he shoots the guy, he's like bleeding, like the guy shoots him in the face, right? So he's like bleeding
Yeah.
all, and he comes up to the parking exit, and the like little parking attendant's just like, he's like, open the door! He ends up just driving straight through. There's a lot of subtle comedy in this movie, because when I say he ends up driving straight through, we don't find out he's driven straight through until Bill Macy rolls up and sees the broken down
Yeah.
parking barricade.
And wasn't the attendant shot?
Yeah, I think he caps the attendant because
He's being a dick.
he's just being a dick. I mean, hey, if you got shot, would you be a happy man?
No. Shit. Blitter.
That's your impression of you shot.
Yeah.
Okay. So to further discuss Fargo a little, how do you think it stacks up against the other Coen Brothers films? I'm curious.
Let's see. I don't particularly remember any of them. Like I don't know like which one is which. You know what I mean? Let's see what they have done.
I mean, the other notable ones off the top of my head: Big Lebowski, Brother, Where Art Thou, No Country for Old Men,
Okay.
True Grit, that kind of
All
stuff.
right, I've seen a couple of them. I've seen The Big Lebowski. I've seen Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. I've seen No Country for Old Men. I haven't seen True Grit. So yeah, let's compare to Big Lebowski. I mean, against that, Big Lebowski is a completely different movie.
Yeah.
There's better cinematography, better effects. It's a comedy. It's a straightforward comedy. It's not like a black comedy kind of, which I think this was kind of more of a. Compared to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, I think it's more comparable to that than anything else. But it's more like a mix between the two. Like if Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and No Country for Old Men were dating and they had a baby, that's what this movie would be.
I like that description actually. It kind of takes a few things. You get a sense of the same kind of desperation there is in parts of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, I think. It's not a giant retelling of the Odyssey like Brother, Where Art Thou, but it is kind of a retelling of a story. And I think Big Lebowski, you're right, they are very incomparable. I think Big Lebowski is a very unique movie that the Coen Brothers made because
it stands out from everything they made.
Yeah, it just really stands out. It's a completely different kind of movie. There's no real dramatic quote unquote things happen in the movie, but they're not handled really dramatically or whatever.
Yeah.
And it also kind of feels like after the success of Fargo, they got to throw their money into this thing and just get all these fantastic actors. Although actually the casting in all their movies is very good. But they got to really put together a fantastic cast for the Big Lebowski.
They love Steve Buscemi.
They do love Steve Buscemi. Almost as much as Adam Sandler loves Steve Buscemi. Steve Buscemi's been in how many Adam Sandler movies? All of them.
No, you're thinking about something else.
No, I'm not.
You're thinking about that one guy.
No, well, there's been a lot of people that have been in all of Adam Sandler's movies, but he's an actual talented person who's been in all of Adam Sandler's movies.
I can't recall him ever being in one, actually.
You don't remember the, great scene from Billy Madison?
You Can Do It?
Where Adam Sandler calls Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison, and he, apologizes, and he starts putting on the lipstick to Electric Light Orchestra? That's a classic.
I'm thinking that was that one guy. Who's that guy? Shit.
Who was that guy? But speaking of Adam Sandler, have you seen the promotional, I just saw a trailer today for Grown Ups 2.
Sounds terrible.
Yes, rather predictably. It looks terrible. Apparently Wayne Gretzky's daughter's in that. That's of interest for Canadians.
Oh, yeah. So is she hot or what's up?
Yeah, she's hot.
Okay, that's acceptable.
Yeah. I don't think we have too much left to talk about. Been happy with our discussion of Fargo. Anything else you want to say?
We will never be late again, I promise.
Yeah, we're gonna try and keep a weekly schedule. That is one thing.
Yeah, we only like 2 weeks behind?
Round that up to months and maybe add a number. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. All right. So, what movie will we be watching next week? Do you know, Bosco?
Actually, you're watching
We're watching the
what am I?
1956 American classic Giant,
Giant Cock.
starring one of our first times. We'll have a returning actress. Giant stars Elizabeth Taylor, who you may also remember was in our second episode for A Place in the Sun, which I think is
Does it have James Dean in it? It does.
Giant. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Is this? Oh man.
But you might remember A Place in the Sun. I think is consensus the worst movie we've watched for the podcast.
Kinda.
Kind of. In aspects. So next week we will be watching Giant. We hope you will join us next week, and of course every week thereafter. Anything left to say to the good folks at home, Bosco?
Remember, 2 birds in the hand, something pan.
Okay. Remember, next time I say I'll see you next week, I want you to say, you betcha. Goodbye.
That was terrible.
You've just been listening to a Gooncast Media Podcast, the greatest movie podcast.
I'm in another video today.
What's it about?
You'll see in a minute. It's really stupid. It's gonna get me views because people like this stupid shit.
Says who?
Obama.
I've never trusted that guy. I heard he spies on us. Us Canadians.
He liked my other video I made.
What, how to make cereal non-director's cut?
No, he liked that one, but he liked how to save Saving Private Kirby.
Featuring Hank Harding's fantastic acting skills.
It was
Sergeant
good.
Cooper, now I'm stuck in the tree.